How to improve your reading ability and understand all the things that you read. I love reading books and I have at least 100 books on my mind that I want to read them as soon as possible. But one of the main problems that I used to face while reading a book was that sometimes I couldn't really understand what I was reading. I used to read a page over and over and over again, but I couldn't get it. And because of that, I didn't enjoy reading. And as a result, I used to read just one book every 2 months or so, which is far away from what I really want. So I decided to search for the problems that I had, and fortunately I found them and I solved my problems. And right now I read at least 3 books every month and I really enjoy reading books. And here in this video I'm gonna share with you 6 problems and the solutions for those problems so that you can solve them and really enjoy reading and understand and remember what you read. First problem. In today's society, the majority of people, including me and most probably you, believe that the more books we read, the more successful we can become, right? But I figured out that this belief is just a trap because it pushes us towards reading faster and faster. So we forget about understanding what we read and we just try to read faster and read more because we believe that reading more equals earning more. But this is a myth, because imagine that you read 1,000 books and you don't learn anything. Will you be able to earn more money? Of course not. But on the other hand, imagine that you read just one book and learn something important, and then use that important knowledge to improve your behaviors. In this case, you will absolutely be able to earn more money, right? So the first step is to forget about fast reading and focus on just learning and applying. Second problem. In several studies, scientists prove that the problems with understanding written text is because of one of 2 reasons. First, being unable to decode and understand the meaning of each word. This is a problem that generally those who try to read in another language face. So if you are reading in another language, you absolutely need to use dictionary to decode and understand the meaning of each word. And I know that using dictionary slows you down, but it helps you understand what you read, right? So don't be lazy to use dictionary if you are reading in another language. But for most people, decoding is not the main problem because they know the meaning of each and every word that they read. So for them, the main problem is something else. A recent research at the University of California proved that the parts of the brain that deal with reading are identical with the parts of the brain that deal with listening, which means our reading comprehension is connected to and in fact depends on our listening comprehension. So if you always struggled with understanding what you read, most probably it is because your listening comprehension is not good and you need to work on and improve your listening comprehension first. The best way to test your listening comprehension is listening to the news. If you don't understand most of the things that you hear in the news, then the problem is with your listening comprehension. But if this isn't the case and you easily understand what you hear, then you need to solve the following problems in order to improve your reading comprehension. Third problem. When I was a college student, I couldn't study so much during the semesters, but the day and the night before the exam, I was able to study more than 12 hours. And I believe that most probably you had the same experience, didn't you? Now, why do you think it happens? Why do you think we are able to study more than 12 hours the day and the night before the exams? The reason is 2 simple things: purpose and urgency. We learn better when we have an urgent purpose. In other words, when we really need to learn something fast. In these cases, our mind works with full power, and as a result, we can study more and we can learn better. So if you want to understand and learn what you read, don't read just a random book. Read something that you really care about and is essential for your growth. Or in other words, read what you really need. Fourth problem, the lack of curiosity. We all know that curiosity is the root of learning. In other words, we learn what we are curious about, right? Now, if you are reading a book that you are not curious about and you don't have any questions that you want to find the answer to them, then most probably you will miss all the important things in that book and you will not enjoy reading it, right? But on the other hand, if you are curious about something, meaning you have a lot of questions that you want to find the answer to all of them, then you will absolutely enjoy reading that book and you will try to focus and learn new things so that you can answer your questions. So always try to create curiosity before reading a book. And to do that, start skimming the book before reading it. Meaning, start by reading the headlines, looking at the pictures and graphs and tables at conclusion, and then give 3 to 5 answers to these questions. First, what are the questions that you have and you want to answer them by reading this book? Second question, what are the actions that you want to take and this book will teach you how? Third question, what are the problems that you want to solve and this book will show you how? Fifth problem, not using notes and or highlights. This happens to me so much. I read something very interesting and I like it so much, but then I forget what it was and where I read it. Is this scenario familiar to you? Well, this happens to almost everybody. We read something, we like it, and after a while we just forget it, right? And we use different ways to avoid this problem. For example, we take photos or screenshots or we highlight what we read. But these are not so effective because several studies show that the best way to avoid this problem is note-taking. Note-taking improves your learning and also your memory because when you take notes, when you write down something, you focus on information that you just learned and you try to write them correctly. And at the same time, when you take notes, you can go back and review your notes when you forget something. So note-taking improves your learning and helps you remember what you read. Sixth problem, not using effective breaks. Studies at MIT show that the best way to read and study is using the blocks of time. They say that generally the best and most effective way to read and study something is using the 1-hour blocks, meaning 50 minutes of study with a 10-minute break. And of course, this time varies from one person to another person and from one subject to another subject. But generally, it's more effective to take a 10-minute break after 50 minutes of studying and reading something. This will improve your energy and your focus. Bonus tip, read as you are going to teach. Studies show that we learn just 10% of what we read and 30% of what we see, but we learn 95% of what we teach to other people. So when you read something, imagine that you are going to teach that same things to other people. And when you do this, your mind will use all its powers to focus and understand the subject. So use this simple trick to improve your reading comprehension and your reading memory.